Let me see what is happening here. So there's no, hmm, what is going on here? Okay. Hello. This is Jorge Herrera, and I'm doing this stream based on a change in Rumble where I can stream directly from the open broadcast software, and well, that's what happens when you try something. So this stream is about lies, lies, and more lies. And let me start with the biggest of the lies. The Federal Reserve System. It has nothing about federal, and there's no reserve. So that is one of the biggest lies, because it's totally contract, I mean, totally against the narrative of what the Federal Reserve is supposed to be. And it also says that it was created to stabilize the economy. But what they actually do is the contrary. They destabilize the economy by manipulating the interest rates and the creation of money. So that's something that we all need to investigate and to think about. Next slide, 9/11. 9/11 at this point is very challenged. It is a conspiracy theory that is in many people's minds, including mine, because there were many things that were that happened that did not make sense, like the way those buildings collapsed. And there was actually a building that was not touched by any of the airplanes, and it did collapse to the ground. And that's something that engineers and architects challenge. Next slide. Iraq war, because of weapons of mass destruction. There was nothing like that. And the United States, in the administration of George W. Bush, changed the landscape of the Middle East by taking down um, the ruler of Iraq, uh, Hussein. So that actually is part of the problems that we have right now in the Middle East with Iran and the conflict with Israel, and where also the United States is involved. Another lie: the 2008 recession. Most economists at that time and the Federal Reserve um, governors or members, they said they did not see it coming, and they said that it was not going to last and that everything was under control. There was nothing like that. It was a very bad time for the population, and the big to fail banks, the too big to fail banks were not allowed to fail by the Federal Reserve and the Treasury, because they say that it would hurt the population if they were allowed to fall. So that was a big lie, and those big to fail banks at that time are even bigger right now. So we can still have huge economic problems in the horizon. Another lie: the 2020 election. The Democrats that ended up winning the election, they did it with all kinds of tricks and the use of false narratives, like the fact that they created, the fact that they said that Donald Trump was colluding with the Russians. It was probably backwards. The Democrats were the ones that did wrong or wrong actions, but that's how they came up with the election. They got in power, and they actually placed Joe Biden as the president, an individual that had no capacity to do that, because we all were able to see that he had cognitive problems, and when it became too obvious, then they replaced him and they installed Kamala Harris as their candidate for the next election that was legally won by Donald Trump. But I skipped one step because prior to Donald Trump become the legal president in 2024, we had the COVID-19 lie, which was one of the biggest too, because they said that it was originated in some uh, markets, some food markets in China that also was related to some animals. But the truth, it was a leak in a lab in China. But it was not an only China operation. The United States was involved too, with the help of the Department of Health and Fauci, who has been one of the greatest liars and is still untouched. It's unbelievable how certain officials and certain big businesses and politicians can lie with no consequences. So in COVID-19, we saw that they built a narrative that it was in all the change of communication, all the main networks, television, and they were all telling the same lie. And that was one of the ways that we were able to see how they created this lie by being in total connection by promoting the same lies. And we saw how doctors and hospitals change the certificates, the death certificates of people to make it bigger, the influence or the way that COVID-19 affected the population, but all that was manipulated and built. So that's how the population, the citizens, the citizens were able to catch that big lie of COVID-19. And there was obviously, in all those lies that I have talked about, there's money involved. So then again, to find out who's behind that, we just have to follow the money. Recently, I learned of a big lie about nicotine. But then when I learned about this lie, I also learned how the big businesses And the globalists bad-mouthed nicotine to get people away from smoking, which is bad, not because of the nicotine, but because of all the chemicals that the tobacco companies have put in those cigarettes. And that's what have killed a lot of people. And actually, I was hurt uh, in my um, in my life because uh, smoking killed my mom, and smoking has in big trouble my older brother. Not because of the nicotine, but because of all those uh, many bad chemicals that those manufacturers of cigarettes have put on it. I learned that it's about 600 chemicals. But the truth is, nicotine is a great product that can help us solve many issues. Like it helps us to focus, and it helps with our memory, and it also helps us to, to stay relaxed. I'm actually using a nicotine patch at this time, and I'm finding out that yes, it helps me to stay more relaxed. And let's come to MAHA, Make America Health Again, or Healthy Again. MAHA is not a lie, but it has helped us to uncover many lies. They have created documentals to help us understand all the lies that have been perpetrated by big businesses and certain globalists and people in position of power that use those lies to manipulate and stay in power. So look for those documentals that MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, is sharing, because you'll be able to learn about many of those lies that then again, those lies are told to get power and money. So as you can see, we have to be very discerning and think about the information that comes around, because a lot of that information is put out to fool people and manipulate them. There is a saying from Mark Twain that I'm going to use to end this broadcast, this podcast. It is easier to fool somebody than to convince them that they have been fooled. And in reference to our health, we need to take back control and look to get health by ourselves. So self-care is the new healthcare. If you want to have a conversation, put a comment below the video that you're watching, and we'll have a conversation. Talk to you next time.